I won't shame you for that, but I do have some questions. I also kind of thought it was a smut book, but there just wasn't like that much smut. What are we doing, guys? What are we doing here? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Marissa and I like to talk about books and book design. Long time no see. I'm sorry for the unexpected hiatus. I was moving. Turns out when you're moving, that just takes up literally all of your time. So learned my lesson that way, but I'm in a new apartment. I'm back, better than ever, hopefully. And what better way to kick off my comeback than with the mid-year freakout tag. Now I'm going to start just by talking about my stats for the year. I've read 37 out of my 25 book goal for the year. So I have surpassed it already, which means I can now just chill comfortably and read whatever I want to read. Which is why I'm such a big advocate for setting like unrealistically low goals, because it just puts too much pressure on yourself otherwise. But that's just my 2 cents. Now let's go ahead and get into these questions. I also want to say that I added in my own little question specifically about book cover design. Since I am a graphic designer, I thought that would be fun, so stick around if you want to hear about that. The first question is, what is the best book that I've read so far this year? Although I read it in January, it was actually the second book I read this year, there's no doubt in my mind that it's gonna be The Perks of Being a Wallflower by chbosky. I had this book on my shelf for over 10 years and it was just marinating, waiting for the perfect time for me to pick it up. And surprisingly, that was when I was 25 years old. And it hit just as much as if I'd been reading it when I was 14 years old, I'm sure. If not more. If you're as late to the game as I was, The Perks of Being a Wallflower follows this young boy named Charlie who's going into his freshman year of high school. And right off the bat, we know that he's going through some really hard things. Sort of opens up with one of his only friends commits suicide and he's dealing with the aftermath of that. The story is written in letters to an undisclosed friend, which is sort of like you, the reader, are the friend. It just follows Charlie's journey over his freshman year of high school, coping with that trauma, meeting new people, and really coming into himself. I think it's just such a beautiful and profound story that you really can learn something at any stage in your life when you read it. And I think what's so special about this book is, yes, it's a young adult book, and within the writing, I believe that it's a teenager telling me the story, although obviously chbosky is not a teenager. That just goes to show the craft of his writing that he's able to pull that off. Charlie is really invested in his English class, so what's really interesting is that throughout the novel, you can kind of see his writing improve, which is just such an extra added layer that's like, no one's doing it like him. I really need to read more of his books. And this was just such a standout for me. I think it's probably gonna remain my favorite for the year. It's gonna be really hard to beat. No surprise here, I rated this 5 out of 5 stars. Next up is, what has my favorite sequel been so far this year? Admittedly, I do not read a lot of series, so I didn't have much to choose from, but I guess you could technically consider Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins to be a sequel of sorts, although it's more of a prequel, but it's also kind of a sequel to the other prequels, so we're gonna count it. This book has gotten so much hype this year, and the Hunger Games series is just well known enough as it is. So I'm not gonna get too much into it, but I'll go ahead and say I rated it 4 out of 5 stars. I thought it was a really excellent and necessary addition to the series. Suzanne Collins, your mind is beautiful. I love this series so dearly in my heart, and reading Haymitch's story just, it's devastating, truly. And I'm so excited for the movie. If you want to hear more of my in-depth thoughts, I actually made a whole reading vlog when I was reading this, so go ahead and check that out. What is a new release I haven't read yet, but I'm excited to? So this is kind of cheating because I have started it already, but Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab. One of my most anticipated releases for this year. I am about 3/4 of the way through it, so it's a little bit cheating. I just wanted to talk about it, okay? This is V.E. Schwab's newest release, and it's sort of just summed up in toxic lesbian vampires. Truly couldn't have said it better myself, and you really don't need to know much more going into it. What I'll say is that of all her books, I think it's most similar to The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. So if you like that one, you're really gonna enjoy this, especially if you're a vampire lover like me. I'm also really interested in checking out My Friends by Frederick Bachman. Truthfully, I don't know a whole lot about the book, but I'm just a fan of Bachman's writing, so probably am gonna enjoy it. It says it's an unforgettably funny, deeply moving tale of 4 teenagers whose friendship creates a bond so powerful that it changes a complete stranger's life 25 years later. Yeah, that sounds about right for Bachman, and I'm gonna eat it up. I probably will listen to the audiobook of that, so I should place a hold now at the library because I know that's booked. I know it's gonna take a while. Now, without a doubt, my most anticipated release for the second half of the year is Mate by Ali Hazelwood. I am a huge Ali Hazelwood girly, and I absolutely devoured Bride, and Mate is the sequel, so of course I need to read it immediately. I don't think I can talk much about the specifics for this story without spoiling Bride, so all you really need to know is that Bride is Ali Hazelwood's first paranormal romance. It follows a vampire and a werewolf sort of forbidden romance in a way. Not really forbidden. Unlikely romance, you could say. So the sequel follows the main character of Bride's best friend and her love story, which has a major spoiler for Bride, so I'm leaving it at that, okay? And I can't even lie to you, I have been in Berkeley's DMs begging them to send me an arc. No response yet, but if you want to do me a solid, go ahead and leave a comment below saying something along the lines of, wow, I can't wait to hear your thoughts and review of Mate by Ali Hazelwood, so that they know you guys are interested in hearing my thoughts. Maybe they'll send me the arc. I don't know. Can't hurt to try. Next, is there a new author, debut or otherwise, that I have enjoyed so far this year? I don't know that I've read any debut authors yet, but new to me, Mona Awad. I finally read Bunny back in like April, May, and absolutely fell in love with it. Just really did it for me because I love weird girl lit, I love an unreliable narrator, and that's sort of the common theme throughout all of her stories. So I just know I'm gonna love everything else that she writes. I think next I'm planning on picking up Rouge, but also the sequel to Bunny's coming out later this year, so I guess you could say that's another anticipated release. I think it's called We Love You, Bunny. I will be picking that one up for sure. Now let's talk about my biggest disappointment so far this year. Immediately, it's gotta be The Ever King by J. Andrews. So sorry to those of you who enjoyed it. I was really disappointed because I thought I would enjoy it too. I don't read a lot of romantasy, but when I do, I love sort of the tropes that were presented in it, like the forbidden romance between 2 kingdoms, the like kidnapping. Let me just explain what it is. Basically, there's 2 fairy kingdoms. One is sort of like the land fairies, and one are the sea fairies, sea fae. The Ever King, who's the sea fae, kidnaps the daughter of the land fae king and holds her captive, basically like inciting a war between the 2 kingdoms. I thought I would really love sea fae because I've never really read any sort of fantasy like that. It just really didn't do it for me. And to be quite honest, I was bored. I also kind of thought it was a smut book, but there just wasn't like that much smut. So the whole time you're sort of reading and just waiting around for like a war to happen, a sex scene to happen, and it's just not delivering. Most of the time you're just like, okay, anything happen, please. And it doesn't really happen at all till the very end of the book, which granted, it is the first book in a series, so I guess you could argue that it's setting up the plot for the rest of the books and maybe they get more exciting. I will not be sticking around to find out. So, and then the other one that was so disappointing, not even because I thought I was gonna like it, but because truthfully I'm just disappointed in some of the people that recommended it to me. Powerless by Lauren Roberts? What? Who said that? Who said that? What are we doing, guys? What are we doing here? I just like truly am astounded at the hype this book has gotten, and it is just poorly written. It's ripping off so many other stories that have already written about these things so much better than in this book. The characters are really just dull and flat. Like, I really didn't find anything redeemable about it. And I think the worst part is that it's just so long, and sort of like The Ever King, most of the content is just waiting around for something to happen. Powerless sort of steals the trials aspect of the Hunger Games. You know, you think those pages would be really interesting, action-packed, like the majority of like the meat of the story, but most of the story is you waiting for the next trial to happen, and then the trial happens and it's like a couple pages and it's over, and then we're waiting again. Huh? I don't know. I really don't know about that one, guys. Sorry to have my hater cap on. If you liked it, truthfully, I'm so happy that you found something enjoyable about it. Like, at the end of the day, if it's making you pick up a book to read, then it did its job. I won't shame you for that, but I do have some questions. Now on the flip side, my biggest surprise this year has been Happiest by Emily Henry. I've read a lot of Emily Henry's other books and they usually land in like the 3-star territory for me. They're not bad by any means, they're just not super memorable to me. But I can now say Happiest is the only Emily Henry book that I have given 5 out of 5 stars. I mean, that's really saying something. So the story follows this couple, Wynne and Harriet, that have actually broken up, but they are in the sort of same friend group, and they really don't want to tell their friends that they broke up. So when their annual trip to Maine comes around, they decide to not tell their friends they've broken up, and they sort of do this fake dating thing. As you can imagine, that it's just steeped in so much tension and, you know, everything else that fake dating usually delivers. The reason I often struggle with romance is because usually the characters get together too fast and I just don't buy it. I'm like unable to suspend my disbelief, even though that is sort of the point of the genre, but that's a me problem. And then the other reason is that the background characters, like the friends in the story, usually aren't well-rounded characters. They seem to only be there to help move the romance plot along. And again, that just makes it not realistic to me. However, Happiest subverted my expectations on both fronts because since the couple has broken up, they already have this well-established romantic history, and there's also the mystery of why they actually broke up. And Emily Henry does a really good job of not revealing either of those questions of like how they got together, how they broke up in the beginning. It's slowly unraveled throughout the whole story and it keeps you wanting to turn the page. And of course, since this story is so heavily involved with the actual friend group, they are all really fleshed out characters and I just thought it was amazing. I love the tension of the second chance romance because clearly they still love each other and you really just have to read it. I think it was so good. Now here's the question that I'm actually throwing into this little tag. What is the best book cover from a 2025 release? Okay, I have a few. First one is sort of random, but hear me out. With a Vengeance by Riley Sager. Now, is this the best book cover I've ever seen? No. However, I think Riley Sager's covers always stand out amongst the thriller genre. There's something about the bold neon covers and the sort of spooky, mysterious illustration that always pulls me in. Like, I know for a fact if I saw this on the shelf at Barnes & Noble, I'd be picking it up to read the description. Now, one that like really appeals to pretty much everything I loved in a cover is House of Beth by Carrie Cullen. This might not be a standout for everyone, but for me, a big, bold typeface, a little script font, dark background, interesting illustration is always gonna pull me in. Now, off the bat looking at this, I kind of assumed it would be a vampire story, but this is actually a ghost story, and I think the cover works really well for that. It's dark, it's mysterious, and it makes me want to know more. And then I just wanted to give an honorable mention here to Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil. I feel like this cover is not like V.E. Schwab's typical cover design, but it really speaks well to that gothic vampire aesthetic. I think the design really just nailed the essence of it. Pretty much any font, I'm gonna like it if it's yellow. Now back to our regularly scheduled program. The next question is a book that made me cry. Like everyone else, yes, I did sob like a baby during Sunrise on the Reaping. At the cameras, it was ugly. I was like dry heaving at the end because I was crying so hard. I mean, it's literally devastating. You can kind of expect that with any Hunger Games book, but I really think this is the saddest one in the series by far. Whew. And then the only other book that made me cry this year was The Perks of Being a Wallflower, which is no surprise. This is a really sad book, but unlike Sunrise on the Reaping and my ugly sobbing, this was more of just like a steady stream of tears. Quiet, longing, wistful, hurting, pain. Yeah, that about sums it up. I'm honestly surprised there aren't more because I'm a really easy crier at books, movies, anything. And of course, now we need to talk about a book that made me happy. I'm gonna say Attachments by Rainbow Rowell. This one was a really unexpected 5 out of 5 stars for me. If you're not familiar, it is this really fun contemporary romance that follows these two women who work in an office. And it's actually like a newspaper. One's a writer, one's an editor, and they are chatting with each other between their work emails. And we have a secret third character, Lincoln, who is the guy hired to monitor their emails at the office and make sure they're staying on task, they're not talking about anything inappropriate. Pretty much all of their emails get flagged and sent to Lincoln, but he never reports them because he loves reading the conversations so much he starts to feel like he's actually friends with them. And of course that later evolves into him feeling like he's in love with one of them. It's a super unique story, and I think the best part of it is there's just really strong character growth, even more so than the actual romance. The character of Lincoln goes through such a strong transformation from the start of the story to the end that it really just left me feeling so joyful. Last but certainly not least, what are some books I want to read before the end of the year? That is a really good question, and I don't know. I am a mood reader through and through, so I just really cannot tell you what I will be reading. What I do know is that I really need to tackle my physical TBR. After moving apartments and having to carry these up like one by one, sweating on my back, physical torture, I'm really evaluating the need to have so many books. So I need to read more and purge the ones that I'm just not absolutely in love with. So you can expect a new series coming soon of probably like themed reading vlogs all surrounding what's on my physical TBR. TBD, but keep an eye out because it's something I really want to do. So that's really all from me. Thank you so much for being patient with me in my absence. It really was a needed break, but I'm back now and I'm so excited to keep making videos. So please leave me a comment below and let me know what your favorite book has been so far this year. With that, I am signing off, but I hope to see you in the next one.